DACA clients may not travel outside of the United States without first obtaining permission from United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. This permission is called advance parole. Advance parole gives permission for a person to re-enter the United States before they ever leave. This can be used to travel abroad and still be able to come back to the United States. There are only 3 reasons why DACA recipients will be issued advance parole: education purposes, such as a study abroad program or academic research; employment purposes, such as overseas conferences or meetings with clients; and finally, humanitarian purposes. This would be for things like traveling to obtain medical treatment, attending funeral services for a family member, or visiting an ailing relative. Travel for vacation is not a valid reason to apply for advance parole. You must have one of these 3 reasons to travel to be granted advance parole. To apply for advance parole, you will need to file a Form I-131 with supporting evidence. USCIS requires a copy of an official document showing your photo, name, and date of birth. For DACA recipients, you can use your current unexpired EAD, your driver's license, or your passport identity page. They also require a document issued to you by USCIS showing your present status. Again, you can use your EAD card for this. For DACA recipients, USCIS requires you to send a copy of your Form I-797 Notice of Action you received when your DACA was renewed. It should look like this, and tell you how long your DACA has been approved for. If your DACA is going to expire within 6 months of filing your advance parole application, you'll need to renew before you can apply. You'll need to provide 2 passport-style photographs taken within 30 days of when you file your application. Finally, you will need to provide evidence for why you need to travel. USCIS lists some examples as: if you're applying for educational purposes, a letter from your school describing the purpose of the travel and explaining why the travel is required or beneficial. If you're applying for employment purposes, a letter from your employer or a conference host describing the need for travel. If you're applying for humanitarian purposes, documentation of a family member's illness or death, such as a letter from their physician or a death certificate. Note, if you are applying to visit a relative, you will need to show your connection to them. This can be done by providing birth certificates. For example, if you want to visit your sick maternal grandmother in Mexico, you can show your relationship by providing your birth certificate, which states who your mother is, and your mother's birth certificate, showing that your grandmother is her mother. When you fill out your Form I-131, you'll need to provide a description of why you need to travel, while also including the expected dates of travel and how long you expect to be traveling. Be aware that advance parole applications are taking months to process. You can check how long cases are taking by checking the USCIS Processing Times webpage. If something happens suddenly, such as the death of a relative, it is possible to request an expedite. If you haven't filed your application yet, type or print the word expedite on the top right corner of your application with black ink. You will also need a written explanation why you need your case to be expedited. If you have already filed your application, you will need to call the USCIS Contact Center to file an expedite request. They will also ask you why you need your application expedited, so have a statement prepared. The USCIS Contact Center number is 1-800-375-5283. Once you have filed your request, USCIS will require you to come in for a biometrics appointment. It will say when and where you will need to appear to be fingerprinted. Failure to show up to your appointment could lead to your application being denied. If your application is approved, USCIS will send you an advance parole travel document that you will use when you travel to re-enter the United States. Some last things to know. You must return to the United States before the end of your allotted time. Failure to return before the date listed on your travel document will leave you unable to return to the United States. Leave yourself a little cushion on the return trip in case your flight is canceled or delayed. When you next reapply for DACA, you will list your departure from the United States on the application. Be sure to keep your travel document to prove you re-entered lawfully on your future application.